Right. So in the last session, Deepa was interacting with you with the content of trust, as I understand. So there is a hand raised by Priya Sherwaleji. Let me give mic to you. If you would like to share something or ask something, mic has been provided to you. Priya Sherwaleji, mic has been provided to you. You want to say something? Okay, maybe by mistake. Let me lower all. Okay, so what we have seen as the of trust is that the assurance that the other wants to make me happy and prosperous. So this is what we call it as trust, right? So we can reflect upon how many people we have unconditional trust towards. Do we have the feeling of trust towards our immediate family members, maybe our parents, our grandparents? Do we have the feeling of trust towards our immediate relatives? Do we have the feeling of trust towards our very close friends? And check how many of the others do we have the feeling of trust towards? So this is something to be explored, interacted, something to be explored actually. So the more number of people you have the feeling of trust, are you able to see the feeling of trust unconditionally, or is it conditional? If they do so something, then I have the feeling of trust towards them. Is it so? Check on that, right? And does anybody have any question on the feeling of trust? Any reflections on the feeling of trust who have joined here? You can raise your hands, or you can unmute and speak also. Are you able to see what is trust, first of all? So the trust is to see that I want to be happy in continuity, right? I want the other also to be happy. So this is my natural acceptance, or this is my intention, that I want to be happy and I want the other to be happy. And what about the other? So I can see that other also want himself to be happy. I'm very clear about it. How about the trust on me? How about that the other want to make me happy and prosperous in continuity? Is this intention very clear to me? I can check. Or am I seeing that the other is not able to make me happy always? This is the competence part, ability part. Even though he wanted to make me happy, he may not be able to make me happy. Yeah, Charan Tejareddy, your mic is unmute. You want to say something? Your voice is breaking. Are you speaking by mistake? You have unmuted. Okay. So what we are trying to say is that even though the other intended to make me happy, he may not be able to make me happy continuously, isn't it? But when I see the other, when I think about the other, take his competence to be his intention. Because he is not able to make me happy continuously, I understand or I assume that he even doesn't intend, he doesn't want to make me happy in continuity. So his competence is mistaken to be his intention. And this is the problem because of these trust issues with the other. I know that I lack in competence. I am not able to make me always happy. But even then, I'm very clear about my intention that I want to make the other happy. I want to make me happy. I want to make the other also happy. But for the other, competence to be his intention. And this is one of the very crucial problem of the relationship falling apart. Right? And if you are not able to see the trust, there might be the feeling of anger coming in us. Isn't it? But that when we say the trust, we doesn't say that we have to blindly believe people. That's not what we are again saying. So the question might come that if I have unconditional trust for the other, can I leave my luggage in the railway station and go somewhere? Isn't it? That's not what we are trying to say, right? Because I am, even if I'm able to see that the other want to make me happy, he might be lacking in competence. And because of his lack of his competence, he might take my bag and go away. Right? That might happen. So my program with interaction should be on the base of the his competence also. You know? So I should not leave my bag in a space if I know that somebody might take my bag if it is kept it unattended. Right? That is the program which I am making based on the understanding of the other, based on the understanding that he might be lacking, there might be people who are lacking in competence, right? So that point has to be clear. And another point which has to be clear is the reaction response, right? So in the workshop, we used to play the video of right here, right now. And based on that, we try to explain reaction and response, right? So in generic sense, we can see that in human-to-human interactions, what generally happens, which is causing an irritation, is the reaction. But I always have the potential to respond to the situations, respond to the others. I always have the potential. What is this response and what is this reaction? What are the differences between the response and the reaction? Right? So in response, you decide your feeling on your own rights. Whereas in reaction, you decide your feeling based on the behavior of the other. So this is one of the most important difference between response and reaction. In response, I decide my feeling on my, right? On reaction, I decide my feeling based on the behavior of the other. If somebody is shouting at me, right? For me, there are two possibilities or two choices. Either I can react to him in the same tone, shout him back at the same tone. And that is what we usually do, isn't it? Right? If somebody is saying something which is not of my liking, what do generally I do? I react to him. I also use the same language, the same tone while reacting to him. But then, if I understand the value called trust, I understand that the other's intention is to make me happy. That is the first part. And the second part is that he is behaving in such a manner because of his lack of competence. That is because of his current state, his irritation inside. Right? There is some conflict going within him, and that is being reflected in his behavior to me. So I don't need not go out of, I can ensure my right feelings within me. I can continue to be in my harmony even if the other is not interacting with me as I expect, right? And then I can respond to him, right? Yeah, there is a hand raised, Vidhi, but I have given mic to that person also. It's a mistake. I interrupted with him. Yeah. So what happens is that I have the choice to have this understanding of the trust. I am very clear about the intention of the other person, and I can respond to the other. Probably I may be able to help the other also in coming to his understanding, his terms, right? To harmony. If I am also reacting to him back, then it shows that I have moved out of my harmony. First thing. The second thing is that will prompt the other to again react back, isn't it? Right? Are you able to see this? Do you have anything to reflect upon this? Any clarifications needed? Anybody would like to reflect? You can unmute and you can speak. Or if you would wish, you can raise your hand. Priya, share something? Okay. So anybody would like to reflect anything upon that? RK
Namaskar,
Mohanty ji, you
sir.
want to say something? Ji, namaste.
I'm fully
Please go
convinced
ahead.
about this because this natural acceptance is a sort of positive value for me and for us. But one thing, I am self-organized and I do have a trust on you. I'm doing everything for you. But I fail to realize sometimes the response becomes very poor from the other side.
Okay. So what is your question, Bhaiya?
Pardon?
So what is your question?
Oh, you
Is
could
it a
not get my
reflection
question.
or is it a
Oh,
question?
sorry. Because in a department we both are working. I do have a trust on him or her. Whatever he says, I do it. But in my absence, he does something else. Suppose I do have a class and he has already signed on my paper, but on the day of my leave, he may say simply that I forgot. You get me, sir?
Yeah. So this can happen. Yeah. There can be variety of reasons why, because he has done so. So can you see that he lacks his competence?
Yes.
Are you able to see that? Isn't
That I
it?
have felt that he lacks competence. And sometimes when he speaks with me in a very high tone, those people who
Hmm.
speak in high tone, I simply feel that the person has no competence. The person who has
Hmm.
competence will not have high tone. That I
True.
feel.
Very true. Very true. So if he's having the understanding, he's interacting with the feeling of understanding, he don't have to raise his voice, isn't it? He can speak
Mhm.
normally, because since he's using the raising the raised voice, that itself shows that he is irritated inside him, isn't it? So let's understand that he also wanted to be happy, also wanted to make you also happy, but his competency, since it is low, that is getting reflected in his behavior.
Right, sir? Some people,
Yeah.
they have also some hidden intention, hidden desire.
Mm.
Sometimes they think to put the people in trouble because he has already signed. Hmm. Sometimes this is happening because I had seen during my childhood days two in one, but the people are in many in one. How can I evaluate them? That has been a challenge for me.
Yeah, you can evaluate them very rightly, because they are, from their behavior, from their conduct, you can evaluate them. But the program to make, to interact with them might be specific to that context, isn't it? It will be specific to that context. So based on that context, with this understanding, look for the available choices and make your best choice in such a way that you continue to be in harmony, irrespective of what the behavior of the other is, isn't it? Can we see that this as a
Yes, sir.
understanding?
To be in harmony is the only medicine that is natural acceptance. Nothing else, I think.
Natural acceptance, yeah. When acceptance, you are actually referring to the B1 block. So that is what you are understanding. So based on your natural acceptance, you continue to be in a state of harmony, irrespective of how the other behaves. That's the only choice. You cannot change the behavior of the other. You don't have any control over the behavior of the other. Whereas you can have the control within yourself, in your behavior, your thoughts, your feelings. And it can be based on your understanding. So this is what I'm trying to put forward. Thank you so much for interacting. Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone, G? Is there anybody else who wanted to share something? Okay. So what we are trying to say here is that the difference between the response and the reaction, right? So I have the potential to respond to the other based on my understanding. So this is possible, right? On the other hand, if I am reacting to the other, that shows that I am also out of my harmony, right? I am also getting disturbed from the behavior of the other. Another difference in terms of response and reaction is that in response, it is based on right understanding. You have the right feeling within you, and it is definite and unconditional, right? But if you look at the reaction, you can see that it depends on whether you like or dislike the behavior of the other. And this is very interesting also, right? So for some people, I'll be, for the same kind of event, I'll be reacting because I like that person. If it is my or my best friend, I would have reacted in a different way. And if it is somebody who I don't like, right, then I would behave in a different way. Also, if the other behaves properly, which means other behaves in a way which is like toward the liking of me, then I have the right feeling and behave properly. And if the other misbehaves, I have a wrong feeling and I also misbehave. So this entire thing is actually a reaction. So if when somebody is speaking nice to you, praising you that you are so and so, you wear a beautiful dress, you seems to be looking good, then I behave in a particular way in praise of him also. So that is called positive reaction. On the other hand, if the other is saying something which is not of liking to me, what a dress you are wearing right today, it doesn't look good for you. Something like that. If the other is saying, then I also misbehaves to him. I also getting negative reaction with it, isn't it? So this is again the difference between positive reaction and negative reaction. And then we have to see in response the behavior of the other. It is only an indicator of the state of the other. So he might have some irritation already going within him, right? So this happens sometimes. Like, so for people who are working, they have a fight or some argument with somebody in their office, the parents, and they come home and they press the calling bell, and the spouse took some time to, open the door, and he throws all these anger towards the other person. Why you are so late to open the door? You are always like this, right? What job do you have here? No? Why can't you open the door immediately? All the things thrown to the other person, isn't it? So I'm saying this is only one example, and this can be seen in many examples. For example, even in friendship also, right? What happens is that I made a call to my friend. He didn't pick up the call, right? I again called him. He didn't pick up the call. I waited for some time. I started developing my frustrations within me. Why he didn't pick up the call? He's he's not now connected to me as in old days. Earlier he used to pick my call always, or he would call me back immediately. But now I'm not able to see that, right? So then I waited for an hour. He didn't call back. My thoughts started, the conflicting thoughts started developing. I again called after 2 hours. He didn't pick up the call. Uh, Then what I did? My thought has gone into so much conflict that I'm thinking that even even he calls me back, I am not going to take his call now onwards. These things happens or not? Isn't it? And then probably next day he might call you. Then he will cut the call, not taking the call. Hmm? He didn't took the call yesterday, and he didn't call me also. He didn't even care about calling me back or at least messaging me back. Now I don't want to have a connection with you. Right? And it may lead to the losing of a good friend. But then the reality at the background might be that his phone might be having a problem, or he might have kept his phone at home, forgot his phone at home, and has gone to some other place. It can be a variety of reasons, right? Because of which he could not take the call. But my assumptions, I started on the base of mistrust. I started reacting, isn't it? And sometimes what happens is that after a few months of not talking or interacting, we might forget what was the reason itself. But then we hold on to that feeling of opposition. I only now know that I'm talking because he has something. I don't remember exactly what he has done, what was the context, what was the event, or nothing. I only remember that feeling, the emotion within me, and continue not avoid him, continue not to interact with him. And he also doesn't might be knowing why this person has stopped talking. Okay, then what he said, now I have called him 10 times and he's not calling back. Now I am also not talking. These are the things which may lead to the loss of a relationship, isn't it? Right? So, on the other hand, I don't have to have a reaction. I can respond to any situations. This is possible. For that, I need to have the understanding of the trust. I need to have the understanding that the intention of the other is always, to make me happy and prosperous. Right? Isn't it? Mhm. Very nice. Now, another example between this response and reaction is that in response, you decide your own behavior and you are self-organized. So if I'm able to decide my behavior, that means I'm self-organized, isn't it? On the other hand, if your remote control is with the others, that means you are enslaved and you're not self-organized. Which means what? He presses a button, your mood change. He presses the down button, you feel good. He presses up button, you feel bad. So we can really see, do we want our remote control to be with others, or do we want our remote control to be completely in our hands? And that is possible. And that is possible when we are able to have this feeling of trust in continuity within us. Isn't it? Right? So in response, my conduct is definite. And in reaction, my conduct is indefinite. Indefinite conduct. At one point, I have a conduct particular way, I behave in a particular way. The same event happens in a different situation, my behavior is a different. Isn't it? So, any one of you would like to reflect on any of your friends being lost or something like that? If at all, my interaction with my parents has gone for a toss for some time because of this. I told something to my father, but he took it in a different way. And then he shouted me back. And then I never talked to him after that. These things can happen, isn't it? Right. So, self-reflection, you can take all the interactions, maybe in last 1 week or so, and see how much time you are responding and how much time you are reacting, right? And what is the effort required to progress from reaction to response? What is the effort required? So there are three things which we have put forth here. One is to develop the right understanding, at least about the relationship, right? So a part of it is being discussed here when we are speaking about the trust and respect. And in detail, we'll be talking about in the UHV2 course also, right? So the one thing to be taken care is to develop the right understanding about the relationship. When you say the right understanding about the relationship, it starts from the understanding that the human being is a coexistence of self and body. Understand that the imagination is going on continuity within him as well as me. I have the potential of natural acceptance within me, just as he also have, right? So I can have the feeling of trust towards him, right? I can have the feeling of respect, which we are going to see next. All these things. The other point is to be aware of your imagination, develop the right feeling within. So many of the times we are reacting because we are not aware of our imagination. We are not aware of the thoughts. We are not aware of the conflicting thoughts which we are carrying. And we just react based on the feeling, just pour the anger to the other. In many cases, he might not have thought of something like that. And we assume something and then we pour out the anger towards the other. Right? A little bit effort to be aware of imagination will take a long change, a long lasting change, or a dramatic change in our lives with respect to the relationship. A little bit more awareness in our imagination. Isn't it? So that is the second point which we can think of from the progress to the response from reaction. Right? And sometimes what happens is that in the current the interactions or the interaction between the others might be on the back based on the lack of understanding. So then it has become a habit to shout at somebody when something is not working or somebody saying as I expecting. Then what I can do, I can be aware at least after I have thrown out that anger to someone in maybe in terms of shouting or something like that. Then I can say sorry for that. I should not have done that. I could have spoken to you in a more better way so that it may not hurt you. So this is the third point, to repair the damage from the past reactions, right? And probably with the level of understanding, I might have interaction with my friend, and with the lack of understanding, I might have stopped talking to him, maybe quite a long time. But then whenever I am seeing his face, whenever I am imagining all the good time we had when we were together as friends, then I always wanted to have the positive relationship. Always wanted. He also similarly wanted to bring that positive relationship. In that case also, I can take initiative to repair the damage from the past reaction. Sometimes it may not be, no, it might be a small misunderstanding. Like I thought like this when he said that. It could be like this. He has not told me something very important in his life. I'm such a close friend to him, no? He should have shared this to me, right? Now I'm not going to continue this relationship. So he's not trustable, I think. I assume, right? The other person might not be even knowing why I have decided or changed my behavior to him, isn't it? Right? And this happens for us also. The other person might take the particular decision. So we were good friends for some time. We were having a very good time with each other. On one fine day, he started not talking to me. He stopped talking to me. This can also happen. And I'm totally unaware why he is behaving so. Right? And when I started to try to interact, he's avoiding me. Right? All these things might happen. So one more thing which I could comment here is that irrespective of the behavior of the other, there is always a potential for me to be in harmony. This potential is also there, right? And that requires the right understanding about the relationship, about me, and then that requires the I having the capability to ensure the right feelings within me, isn't it? Right? So there is an there is a exercise also which we can think of here, like observing my thoughts and feeling in continuously, what is happening within me, so that I'm aware of my thoughts and my feelings. So when I'm seeing somebody to whom I have a conflict, what is the thoughts and feelings which is going on within me? Is it going on in a feeling of opposition? Am I going out of my harmony? So can I bring it back to harmony with the right understanding? Right? Can I interact, dropping all the negative interactions which we had earlier and interact with him now? These possibilities are all coming from the response part. So when you are having the awareness, little bit heightened awareness, so you have more choices available for responding, and you can choose the best one available for you to respond with the other rather than reacting to the other. And that is when you are getting self-organized. And the moment you are able to do that, you are coming out of that problem which created that problem in the first place. And you are getting freed of that problem as such. Are you able to see this? Anybody want to add something? Right. Now we can see how are people deciding. So how am I taking decisions in many instances I can think of, right? So some of my decisions might be motivated by precondition. So preconditions are things which we get from outside. Maybe in my childhood, my parents might have told something like that. So initially, when I was a child, I was hesitant to eat food. Then my mother, what she would do, she wanted me to feed. She wanted me to have the food. Then she would say, if you don't take the food, I'll call the policeman and he will come and catch you. So at that very young age, I developed a fear to the policeman. And then it get carried over to my adult ages also, isn't it? Preconditioning, right? I, when I was young, it has been said that money is everything. So I carry that as a preconditioning within me and work the whole purpose of my life becoming to have money. And then I put all my effort, gathered all the money, and then I found that even if I have all the money, I'm not happy. So the preconditioning was from the society, I got the preconditioning that money is everything. And I start believing that, and I'm starting my whole life around it without verifying it and keep on doing that. And finally, at one point of time, I'm realizing that the happiness is eluding. I'm not getting this happiness, even if I have the whole of the money. And by the time I realize my age would have gone, my health would have gone, all my right time of living would have gone, isn't it? These things can happen. So preconditioning is one of the reasons how based on which I take decisions in life. Right? So what is the problem with if I'm taking my decisions based on preconditioning? Since it is not verified, I may be at times in excitement or I may be in depression because I'm not knowing what exactly is harmony, what is happiness. On the other hand, I'm going running behind excitements, one after the other, thinking that if not this excitement, the next excitement. I want to continue excitements also, a feeling of excitements, right? So I have the excitement when I take a particular food dish, right? And then I wanted to have the continuity of the taste. And for that, what I do every day, I start eating that food without knowing that the food, that food is only giving me taste, not the nurturing part, especially these fast foods, right? I may not be knowing if I'm eating out the how much that vegetables will be clean, what clean environment they are cooking, what is the kind of oil they are being used. Because at the level of a hotel or an industry, their primary objective is based on lack of understanding, the profit based, earn as much as profit by giving less, as much as less outside, give as little as possible and take as much as possible. This is what we call it as profit making, isn't it? So in that context, I may be getting mostly substandard items and taste will be there. And because of that, I may not be aware that I am losing my health. Isn't it? So if my decisions are motivated by preconditioning, there will be consequences for me in my living. The second part is decisions are motivated by sensation. As just now I have said the example of the food we eat. Right? So taste is one of the sensation. Similarly, it could be we see the sensation of eyes, like watching movies. So if I'm having a preconditioning and sensation connected together, I might have a precondition that I should watch every movie on the first show. If something like that is there in my preconditioning, then you can see how much of my time, effort, my money is getting invested on that. And this is just a part of entertainment. The usage of mobile phones, you can check how much time are we investing. For example, if it is students, they are at the best time of their whole life. How much of my time is being wasted just dragging up the screen up and down? And what is that I'm getting out of it? Ji, Mohanty ji, you want to say something?
हाँ भैया नमस्कार.
Yeah, namaste.
Sometimes a very small submission before you, humble submission. कि sometimes we are motivated by sensations. Sometimes we take profit-based decisions. And I think this profit-based decision leads to struggle, leads to disharmony, and fails to have the coexistence. Am I right, Bhaiya?
Yes, mostly. If it is not naturally acceptable by you, it might lead to all these things, what you said. Yes. So when you say profit-based, yeah, actually, sometimes in business, if you say a business cannot run on profit, without profit, right? So profit might be needed, but then we have to look into the other aspect also. For example, if I'm running a business, am I giving value to the people who are my clients? Am I giving value to my employees who are working for me, right? Am I using or exploiting the resources of the nature for my profit? These things I can consider and then come out with a point of how much profit I should make in such a way that the other things are also being met, where the human being is central there. So companies making a profit, the employees there are in harmony, the nature is not exploited, or rather it should be enriched, right? If these things are being met, then I have the profit also. So the profit as such is not a bad thing. The profit also need to be there, but then the other aspects, the dimensions also are being met. This is possible. Isn't it? Very nice. And the next part is the decisions are on the basis of self-verification based on the natural acceptance. So every decisions I take, I can verify whether it is naturally acceptable or not. If it is naturally acceptable, then that decision I can go ahead and it may not lead me moving out of my harmony, which means it may not make my family getting out of harmony. It may not take the society moving out of inharmony and even for the nature and existence. Right. So all my decisions and these decisions are all part of my imagination. So when I say desire, thought, and expectation, so it comes in the decision making comes as part of the imagination. So my decisions may be based on the self-verification on the basis of natural acceptance. So I can take any of the decisions before taking any of the decisions. I can check whether it is motivated by preconditioning, or is it motivated by sensation, or is it based on the self-verification based on the natural acceptance. So if my decisions have been on the basis of natural acceptance, I will be in harmony, more or less, right? Mostly. So this is what we are putting forth. While and you can see the decision making is one of the most important process in everybody's life, isn't it? Right. So this is also one more exercise which we can do. Are our decisions motivated by preconditioning? If so, what percentage? And we can check, are our decisions motivated by sensation? If so, what percentage? And what percentage of our decisions are on the basis of self-verification based on natural acceptance? So this is also a very important exercise which we can do continuously and see whether we are on the right path. Are we moving more and more towards this percentage based on natural acceptance? Right? Okay. So to sum up, we can say response is naturally acceptable. Reaction is not naturally acceptable. Reaction could be positive or negative, but then it is not based on right understanding and right feeling. Right? So somebody gives a positive reaction to me, I react positively. Somebody gives a negative reaction to me, I give negative reaction. So then it is not based on right understanding and right feeling. So what we should aim is to respond in all situations, right? So that makes our effort to be in continuity of happiness and prosperity, right? So with this, we can wind up the session here. I think it is 8:30 by this time now, right? So over to you, Parishit Bhaiya. Namaste.
जी,
And thank you so
thank you.
much
Thank you,
all the
Dipesh भैया.
participants for watching. Yeah.
जी, and thank you all the co-explorer for this interactive session. And we can see many new co-explorers had joined from the recent SDP. So we welcome you all and see you all for more and more such discussion and exploration. Thank you, everybody, and again, happy Deepavali to all. Namaste.
Thank you, Parishit Bhaiya. Happy Diwali to you.